Many people try to make someone miss them by playing games, by hiding, pretending, or manipulating distance. But true longing does not arise from absence alone. It arises from energy, from presence, from the depth of your being. If you wish for a man to miss you deeply, do not chase him. Do not run after his attention like wind chasing the leaves. Instead, become the still tree that the wind always returns to. When you fill your own space with peace, confidence, and self-worth, your energy becomes magnetic. You do not beg to be remembered. You cannot be forgotten. When a man feels your strength, your calm, your laughter born of self-love, he will remember you not because you demand it, but because his soul rests when he thinks of you. To make a man miss you like crazy, cultivate the art of presence. When you are with him, be fully there. Listen, look, feel, and connect deeply. When you are gone, be fully gone. Immerse yourself in your purpose, your passions, your growth. This contrast between your fullness and your distance creates the echo he cannot silence. Do not be addicted to his validation. Be devoted to your evolution. Your power is not in what you chase, but in what you choose to withhold with grace. Let silence be your ally. Let patience be your weapon. Let your peace become the storm he cannot calm within himself. That is how you make a man miss you, not through tactics, but through transformation. Many people believe that by simply pulling away, by not texting, not calling, or disappearing for a while, they can make someone miss them. But absence alone does not create desire. It often creates confusion or even relief. True longing does not come from physical distance, but from energetic presence. When two people connect, their energy fields intertwine through shared experiences, emotions, and moments of vulnerability. That energetic imprint remains long after words fade or contact stops. So, it is not the space you create that makes someone miss you. It is the energy you once offered that still lingers in their memory. Energy is what shapes emotional memory. When you bring calmness, authenticity, and warmth into your interactions, that vibration becomes associated with you. A man may meet countless people, but he will not remember their faces. He will remember how you made him feel. That emotional imprint, your laughter, your stillness, your sincerity, becomes an echo in his mind. Even in silence, your energy speaks. Even in distance, your vibration calls him back. This is why inner alignment and peace matter more than external effort. You do not need to perform, you only need to be. When you are energetically grounded, you transmit something rare, stability in a world of chaos. People crave that feeling of balance, often without realizing it. When he feels it from you, he becomes drawn not to your body, but to your essence. Your energy becomes a safe place, a space of clarity and truth. This is the force that makes someone miss you on a level deeper than thought. It is not longing for a person, but for a frequency they can't find elsewhere. And that frequency is born from the way you manage your inner world, not from how much you withdraw or chase. In every relationship, there is an invisible balance between pursuit and presence. Many people, when they feel emotional attachment, become like the wind, restless, constantly moving toward the other, seeking signs of attention or reassurance. But when you are always in motion, you lose your center, and with it, your power. To be the still tree means to remain grounded in your worth, rooted in self-awareness, and unshaken by temporary distance or silence. The tree does not chase the wind, it allows the wind to come and go. And yet, the wind always returns to the tree because it recognizes its stability and quiet strength. When you embody stillness, your presence becomes commanding without effort. You don't need to speak loudly or demand attention. Your calmness itself draws others near. This stillness, comes from emotional control, from knowing that you do not need constant validation to feel significant. A woman who carries herself with inner steadiness sends a silent message. I am enough. This kind of confidence is rare, and people instinctively gravitate toward it. A man may be intrigued by beauty or charm, but what anchors him emotionally is the tranquility of a woman who does not lose herself trying to be noticed. Stillness does not mean being passive or indifferent. It means responding instead of reacting. When the wind blows, when emotions rise, when doubts appear, you remain steady. You observe rather than chase. You breathe instead of panic. This kind of composure is powerful because it shows maturity and self-mastery. The more grounded you are, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Just as a tree stands tall through storms, your calm energy reminds others that you are not easily moved. And in that unshakable peace, others find comfort. They return, not because you called them, but because your energy calls them home. When you are with someone, your full presence is the most powerful gift you can offer. True presence means that your attention is undivided. You are not distracted by your phone, your thoughts, or the need to impress. You are simply there, fully engaged in the moment, listening with your eyes, your body, and your energy. Most people only half listen or half feel, and that lack of depth creates emptiness in connection. But when you are fully present, time seems to slow down, your energy becomes magnetic, and your presence etches itself into the other person's mind. They feel seen, valued, and understood, and that feeling becomes the memory they cannot forget. Presence is not about the quantity of time you spend with someone, but the quality of your attention. A few minutes of true presence is more powerful than hours of distracted company. When you make someone feel like they are the only person in the world for those moments, you awaken something deep within them, the longing to experience that again. This is why presence plants the seed of missing you. It creates an emotional depth that no amount of physical closeness can replace. People forget conversations, but they never forget how you made them feel alive, calm, or inspired in your company. Then, when you step away, when absence comes, that emotional imprint begins to expand. The silence becomes filled with the memory of your energy. The warmth of your presence echoes in the emptiness you leave behind. Absence has power only when presence was meaningful. If you are fully present when together, your distance becomes a reflection of that depth. It gives space for appreciation to grow. It allows the other person to feel the weight of what they once had and now miss. This is how the dance between presence and absence works. One creates connection, and the other amplifies its value. Everything you attract in life, love, respect, opportunity, begins with how you value yourself. Self-worth is not arrogance or pride, it is quiet certainty. It is the deep knowing that you are enough without needing external validation to confirm it. When you possess self-worth, you stop trying to prove your value to others because you already recognize it within yourself. That recognition changes the way you move, speak, and connect. It is visible in your posture, your tone, your choices. People feel it even before you say a word. A woman rooted in her worth becomes radiant in an effortless way. She does not chase attention because her energy declares, I am whole. When you do not know your worth, you begin to trade pieces of yourself for scraps of affection. You compromise too quickly, settle too easily, and try too hard. You measure your value through someone else's approval, forgetting that real attraction grows from authenticity, not from sacrifice. The irony is that the more you abandon yourself to please another, the less magnetic you become. True beauty emerges from self-respect, from boundaries that say, I will not shrink to fit into your comfort. A man may admire your appearance, but he will revere your self-worth. It commands attention in a way that words cannot. It draws him in because your energy communicates certainty, stability, and confidence. Qualities the heart instinctively trusts. Self-worth also defines the kind of love you attract. When you honor yourself, you naturally repel anyone who seeks to take advantage of your kindness or uncertainty. You stop chasing people who give you half effort because your standards no longer allow it. Instead, you magnetize relationships built on respect and mutual value. Your energy no longer says, "Choose me," but rather, "Only come if you can meet me here." This shift is powerful. It turns desperation into dignity, longing into alignment. And when a man senses that you know your worth, he cannot help but miss the security, the balance, and the rare peace that emanates from your self-assured presence. In a world where everyone is shouting to be seen and heard, silence has become a rare and powerful language. When you withdraw your constant attention, you create space for curiosity, reflection, and longing to grow. Many people believe that keeping someone's interest requires continuous communication, endless reminders of affection, and constant presence. But in truth, when you give too much, too often, your energy loses its impact. Silence, when used with awareness and grace, becomes a mirror. It allows the other person to see the difference between noise and meaning, between distraction and depth. Silence is not emptiness, it is the echo of your value. When you step back without anger, manipulation, or drama, your absence carries weight. It signals emotional maturity, the strength to not always fill the air, to not always need to be noticed. This quiet confidence leaves a mark on the mind. It tells the other person that you are not dependent on their validation, that your peace does not crumble in stillness. And in that space of silence, reflection begins. Emotional balance is the art of remaining centered no matter what unfolds around you. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be unaffected. It is about mastering the inner storm so that it does not control your actions or words. When you are emotionally balanced, you respond rather than react. You choose calmness over chaos, clarity over confusion. This composure radiates strength. People are drawn to those who can remain graceful under pressure because it makes them feel safe, grounded, and respected. Emotional steadiness is rare, and in relationships, it becomes an anchor, the silent force that keeps connection steady even when emotions rise and fall. When you allow your emotions to control you, you give away your power. Impulsively texting, over-explaining, or reacting to every shift in energy weakens your presence. It shows that your peace is dependent on another person's behavior, and that dependency drains attraction. But when you master your emotional world, your energy changes completely. You become unpredictable in the best way, not because you play games, but because you cannot be easily shaken. That self-control creates mystery and respect. A man may not always understand it, but he will feel it, the quiet confidence of someone who knows that their worth is not dictated by external circumstances. Emotional balance also brings clarity to your communication and your choices. Instead of being driven by fear, insecurity, or longing, you begin to act from intention and awareness. You speak with purpose, not desperation. You give love freely, but you do not lose yourself in giving. This kind of inner equilibrium allows you to see situations as they are, not as your emotions want them to be. And that clarity is magnetic. It sets you apart. When someone feels your calm presence amid chaos, they instinctively crave it because it reminds them of peace they do not yet possess. In that way, your balance becomes not just your strength, but the very thing that makes you unforgettable. Validation is a craving that weakens even the strongest hearts when it becomes a habit. When you depend on another person's approval to feel secure or beautiful or wanted, you hand over your emotional power. You start to perform instead of live, to please instead of express. The search for validation creates an invisible cage, one where your happiness rises and falls with someone else's response. But real confidence is quiet. It is not born from praise but from self-awareness. When you know who you are, when you understand your value, you no longer need to be reassured constantly. You become your own source of validation, and that independence radiates through everything you do. When you stop chasing validation, your energy shifts from seeking to attracting. People feel the difference instantly. Instead of reaching out from emptiness, you stand in fullness. Confidence is not about arrogance or dominance. It is about presence. It is the calmness in your tone, the steadiness in your gaze, the peace in your silence. A woman who embodies confidence walks into a room and changes its atmosphere without saying a word. She doesn't need to prove anything because her energy already speaks for her. And that kind of confidence is magnetic. It makes people lean in, wondering what gives you that inner strength. When a man feels that your self-assurance does not rely on his approval, he becomes drawn to you on a deeper level. He feels your independence, your emotional maturity, and your sense of purpose. This kind of energy awakens respect, not just attraction. You stop being someone who needs to be validated and become someone who inspires it. The irony is that the moment you stop chasing validation, you begin to receive it naturally, not because you demanded it, but because your confidence silently commands it. You no longer mirror the opinions of others. Instead, you set the tone for how you are treated. That is the essence of embodied confidence. Unshakable, graceful, and deeply felt. There is nothing more captivating than a person who is deeply connected to their purpose. Purpose gives your life direction. It turns every day into movement, every challenge into growth. When you live with purpose, your energy changes. It becomes focused, alive, and meaningful. You stop waiting for someone to complete you because your life is already full of intention. That kind of presence is magnetic because it shows independence and depth. People are drawn to those who have something that fuels them beyond relationships, something that gives their existence weight. A man feels this energy, the quiet determination, the spark of curiosity, the hunger to evolve, and it captures his attention in a way that beauty alone never could. Growth is what keeps that magnetism alive. When you continue to learn, explore, and evolve, you create movement in your life that others can feel. Stagnation dulls attraction, but growth renews it. When you are constantly becoming a better version of yourself, your energy stays fresh, unpredictable, and inspiring. You carry the scent of expansion, a reminder that life with you is not a repetition of the past, but an unfolding of something new. This spirit of growth is irresistible because it mirrors the human desire for progress. Everyone wants to be around someone who challenges them to rise higher, to think deeper, to live more consciously. Purpose also creates emotional independence. When your fulfillment comes from your own evolution, you stop clinging to others as a source of happiness. You can love freely without fear of losing yourself. This balance between connection and individuality is what creates true magnetism. You are whole on your own, yet open to share that wholeness with another. A man will miss a woman who embodies this energy because she represents something rare. Freedom with depth, softness with strength, and ambition grounded in peace. Her life becomes a journey, not a waiting room. And that journey is something no one forgets once they've been close enough to feel it. There is a quiet elegance in restraint. the ability to hold back without withdrawing love, to step away without hostility, to create space without manipulation. Many people confuse withholding with playing games, using silence or distance as a tool to provoke reaction or attention. But genuine grace is different. It does not come from ego or control. It comes from self-respect. Withholding with grace means knowing your limits, honoring your emotions, and allowing space for the other person to rise and meet you, rather than chasing them to meet your needs. It is an act of dignity, not strategy. It says, I can care deeply for you, but I will not abandon myself in the process. When you act from grace instead of games, your energy stays pure. There is no bitterness, no resentment, no need to manipulate outcomes. You simply understand the balance between giving and holding back. You recognize that love without boundaries becomes dependency, and attention given too freely loses its value. By choosing to withhold your energy sometimes, your time, your words, your availability, you allow space for appreciation to grow. It teaches others that access to your presence is not guaranteed. It must be earned through respect and effort. This quiet boundary makes your connection more meaningful because it's rooted in balance rather than desperation. Graceful restraint also teaches emotional intelligence. It helps you observe rather than react, allowing clarity to guide your next step. When you no longer rush to fix, prove, or chase, you give both yourself and the other person time to reflect. Often, that pause reveals truth: who values you, who only values what you give, and who notices your absence not out of ego, but out of genuine care. This is the power of withholding with grace. It invites awareness, it commands respect, and it deepens connection by allowing both hearts to move freely rather than out of pressure. In that calm, composed space, your energy becomes unforgettable, not because you demanded attention, but because you mastered the art of quiet strength. The most powerful way to make anyone miss you is not through manipulation, but through evolution. Transformation is the silent force that speaks louder than any words could. When you focus on your growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you shift your entire energy field. The version of you that once sought validation, that once feared being forgotten, begins to fade, replaced by a woman who knows her direction, her value, and her peace. This transformation doesn't need to be announced, it is felt. The more you evolve, the more people who once took your presence for granted start to feel your absence deeply, because your energy has changed, it has elevated, refined, and expanded beyond who you once were. Transformation is magnetic because it reflects movement, and movement attracts attention. When you grow, you become unpredictable in the most beautiful way. You stop living from past wounds and start creating from wisdom. You replace reaction with reflection, need with purpose, and attachment with awareness. People who knew the older version of you begin to sense this shift. They remember your softness, but see your strength. They feel your peace, but recognize your power. That combination of calm and confidence is impossible to ignore. Growth creates contrast, and contrast creates longing. When someone feels that they can no longer reach you in the same way, they begin to realize how deeply your energy once impacted them. Transforming yourself also realigns your focus. You stop measuring your worth through someone else's perception and begin investing your time into building your own reality, your dreams, your passions, your inner stillness. That transformation doesn't just make you more attractive, it makes you unforgettable. Because transformation isn't about proving that you've changed to others. It's about embodying the kind of peace and power that can only come from self-mastery. A man may miss your laughter, your words, or your presence, But what he truly misses is the energy of a woman who continues to rise. Transformation turns longing into reverence, because what you become after growth is not someone who needs to be missed, but someone who naturally is. In the end, to make a man miss you like crazy is not about distance, silence, or strategy. It is about becoming a woman whose energy cannot be replaced. When you cultivate inner peace, self-worth, emotional balance, and purpose, you rise above the level of games and into the realm of presence. You no longer need to chase affection or beg for recognition. Your essence itself becomes unforgettable. Let your stillness speak, let your silence teach, and let your growth inspire. Because the moment you stop trying to be remembered, you begin to leave an imprint that time cannot erase. The man who once stood beside you will not miss the image of you. He will miss the feeling of you, your calmness, your strength, your laughter, your light. So do not aim to make anyone miss you through absence. Aim instead to become so whole, so radiant, so grounded in who you are, that even when you walk away, your presence continues to echo, not in noise, but in the quiet power of everything you have become.